Okay, so welcome everyone to this Lunch and Learn webinar. My name is Ruth Pollock, and Operations and Liaison Manager at Lincolnshire Training Hub. If you don't know, we do have a mailing list whereby you can find out about all kinds of upcoming training and development opportunities, including our monthly Lunch and Learn sessions. So if you're not yet on the mailing list and would like to join, please do go to the Keep in Touch section on our website homepage, and you can sign up from there. Really pleased to welcome Eloise Jones from Kooth today for our Lunch and Learn webinar. Thank you, Louise, for agreeing to talk to us today about the Kooth mental health platform. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. Please do keep your microphones on mute during the session to help with connectivity and avoid background noise. If you are happy to have your camera on, it's always nice to see faces. Yeah, don't worry if you are eating your lunch or whatever and aren't able to have your camera on. If you have any questions during the session, Eloise, would you prefer people to unmute themselves and ask, or save them, pop them in the chats for you to answer at the end of the session?
Yeah, there'll be time at the end, so it's not going to take the full hour. So yeah, if you have any questions, I will put them in the chat, or there'll be time at the end for them.
Lovely. Well, okay, without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Eloise, and thank you.
Thank you. Can I just check that you can see the slides that I've shared?
We can.
Perfect. So yeah, hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Eloise, as we said, and I am from Kooth. So I'm an engagement lead at Kooth, and I work in Lincolnshire, promoting the service to professionals like yourselves, professionals that work in local organisations, in education, and also young people directly. And hopefully this service will give you a good overview of Kooth, how we work and operate as a service, what support options we have, and how we work alongside support that you might be offering, but also other services that young people might be under. So I've started with just a really quick background on Kooth. So Kooth have been around since 2001, quite a long time now, and we're a trusted service to provide support for young people around the UK. A lot of what we do, has kind of chopped and changed in that time. It started as just a website young people could go to kind of get advice, get signposting, things like that. And it's really evolved to what we are today. As a service, we are accredited by the British Association for Counsellors and Psychotherapists as well. And we are a trusted partner of the NHS. Along with that as well, we are the #1 contributor to the NHS England Digital MHSDS as well. So Kooth is available to young people in Lincolnshire aged 11 to 18 and up to 25 for care leavers and those with SEND. We are commissioned by Lincolnshire County Council. And what is really nice about Kooth is young people don't need a referral. It's just a case of signposting, so they can sign up themselves. For you, it's kind of less paperwork and less work to do as well. You just have to signpost them across. And we don't have kind of any waiting list or any threshold they meet. So as long as they are in that age range, they can access and use Kooth. Access to Kooth is 24/7 because we are a website every single day of the year. And we have a few different support options. And one that we're kind of most well known for is our chats with our qualified mental health practitioners. That is the only thing that isn't 24/7. So in the week, that can be accessed 12 till 10, and at the weekend at 6 till 10, but that is still every single day of the year. Kooth is an anonymous service as well. So when young people sign up, and I will go through the sign-up process in a second, we take very limited information. For a lot of young people, this just makes it kind of easier, and it breaks down kind of any barriers they may have or may feel they have towards accessing support. So this gives you a snapshot of our impact and our top presenting issues that we see nationally. If you would ever be interested to see this data for like Lincolnshire, that is definitely something we can provide. It tends to be fairly similar. So as you can see on this one, anxiety and stress is the kind of top thing we get, and that does tend to mirror at the local level. It does kind of fluctuate depending on the time of year as well. So kind of around exam time, we'll see exam stress and maybe school and college be a kind of bigger issue that we're seeing. But yeah, if you were ever interested in seeing this for local level, that is definitely something we can provide you with. And nationally, 94% of young people would recommend a Kooth to a friend as well. So if a young person wants to sign up to Kooth, it is super quick and simple. It takes a couple of minutes. So this is what it looks like when they head to the website. So it is super, super important to remember we are just a website. It's just kooth.com. You won't find us on the App Store, but because we are a website, it means that young people can use us on kind of any device as long as it is connected to the internet. So whether that is laptop, computer, phone, iPad, if that's a library computer or a school computer, they can still access Kooth on it. So I'm going to show you the sign up process. I think it's really important for professionals to know this. So when you are signposting, you can just say, you know, it takes a couple of minutes, these are the steps. Or if you do work directly with young people, if they've asked for your support to sign up, that is of course something that you can kind of help them with. So to sign up, they click that yellow button that says sign up for free. We then need their general location. So this is just to make sure that they are in one of our commissioned areas. So they can either give us this by putting in the first part of their postcode or selecting their location from the drop-down list. I do always reiterate to young people that from that first part of their postcode, so like LN1, for example, we don't know their house number or street name. We do just know the general area. So their town, their village, the city if they live in Lincoln. Just because a lot of young people don't realise that that's what we get from the first part of a postcode. So it just kind of reassures them that it is anonymous. Or, as I said, they can choose their kind of area from our drop-down list. It'd be like area, Lincolnshire, and then the place would be either the town they live in, or if they're more rural, it could just be like the closest town or village. Also from this, as I said, it helps us to know, you know, make sure they're in one of our commissioned areas. But we do a lot of signposting as well. So this means that we can always signpost them to more local support services as well. We then ask for their month and year of birth. So we don't need their full birthday, just so we can get an idea of their general age. Again, make sure they're in that commissioned age range, but also means that we can, again, if we're signposting them, make sure it's to relevant services for their age. Additionally, we have a few different support options at Kooth. So we've got a community space for articles and discussion boards. So our team will often post in this, and it might mean that they, for example, if they post one about exam stress, that would only go out to age groups that sit exams. So it just makes Kooth a more relevant service for each young person. We then ask for gender and ethnicity. This bit is completely optional. It is up to the young person if they would like to tell us this. For us and for commissioners, it helps us to understand kind of who's using Kooth in each area. If the commissioners say we want, you know, a focus on male mental health, we can see if, you know, any work that I've done has had that kind of impact, etc. But we would never want that to be a barrier towards young people getting support. And for some young people, it is, you know, if there's, you know, their identity or their background or their gender, if they feel that that is preventing them from getting mental health support elsewhere, we don't want that to be the case at Kooth. So they do choose if they would like to tell us this. As you can see under gender, it says prefer not to say, and it's the exact same in the ethnicity drop down. It doesn't change how Kooth works, whether they choose to tell us or choose not to. It's completely up to them. And then we ask them to create an anonymous username and password. So we do just ask that it doesn't have their real name in, it doesn't have kind of an identifiable nickname, and also isn't something they already use as like a social media handle. That is purely to protect their anonymity and privacy. Once they've done that, they can log in and start using Kooth straight away. It's super quick and simple. It takes a couple of minutes, as I said. Normally the longest part, and I have supported some young people to sign up, the longest part is normally choosing that username. They normally take a while to think of something good for that. But once they've done that, they can log in and start using Kooth straight away. So as I said, we are mindful of barriers that some may face around gender, ethnicity or other identity related concerns. Our team that work in service delivery, they have lots of training on lots of different things that young people might be experiencing, and that includes things about identity, ethnicity, culture. And it just ensures that our care remains responsive, inclusive, and grounded in the realities of the young people we support. So Kooth offers personal, accessible support. So in the middle, you can see kind of a snapshot of the support we offer. I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail of them in a second. But as I mentioned, Kooth is an anonymous service. For a lot of young people, this does remove kind of stigma or barriers they may have or may feel they have towards getting mental health support. Because young people can sign up themselves, they don't need a referral, we don't have waiting lists, we've got that higher speed of support. We really empower young people to choose the support options that work best for them. So there's, as I said, there's a few different things they can do. We never kind of tell them how to use it. We won't recommend certain things, but it's up to that young person to use it how is best for them. Kooth is completely free and can be accessed via any internet-enabled device. We have lots of things embedded throughout Kooth to keep it safe, including kind of moderation and pre-moderation. And I have got some slides on safeguarding that I will go through in a minute. And we're designed to provide an inclusive experience for people with disabilities or additional needs, and that is in line with web content accessibility guidelines. So for example, if a young person has something like a visual impairment and they use software when they use their devices, they can still use it on Kooth. Additionally, we try and work to a user's strengths. So if there is kind of a way we can make sure that we are supporting them best, if that is changing kind of language we use, if that is offering, if they're having a live chat with us, it might be offering kind of in-session breaks, things like that. We try and work to that user's strengths. So I'm going to talk through the support options we have now. So we have three kind of main support options. So we've got our community support. This is a really lovely part of the site. It's where young people can interact with other users on Kooth. They can get that peer support in a very kind of safe and moderated space. So we've got kind of two main ways they can do this. We've got discussion boards, which are like a 1 or 2 sentence post. Young people normally use it for like asking questions, asking for support, advice, and others can comment on them. We also have a magazine, a Kooth magazine as well. So this is where they can write articles. I mentioned earlier, sometimes our team will post, it will usually be in the magazine feature. So they might post an article on exam stress, for example. It might be offering tips, advice, things like that. Young people can write about pretty much anything they want. It can be to do with mental health, but it could also be on something that interests them. And most of our content on this part of the site is generated by the young people that use Kooth. We do check absolutely everything that gets uploaded. So we use something called pre-moderation, which is very different to what is used kind of on other websites. So if a young person was to type out a discussion board post, an article, or even a comment, they'd click post, it would not go live straight away. Instead, it gets sent through to our team. Our team read through it, and once they can confirm it meets our community guidelines, they will then publish it live on the site. Essentially means that there's never any chance for things like cyberbullying, racism, trolling, no nasty comments, but also means young people can't post anything that might be maybe an unsafe coping technique. They can't post like personal information. So there's also not an option for young people to message each other. So it is a really great way for them to get that community support, that peer support, but also getting it in a very, very safe way as well. We also have podcasts as well. Those aren't kind of on the Kooth site, but our team will often post like maybe a discussion board or an article linking to the podcast, and they'll normally be on something topical. I'm just saying exam stress because it's the example I've been using, but they might post one about exam stress, or at this time of year, there might be ones about kind of well-being during the winter time and things like that. We then have our self-help tools. So these are what young people see when they first log on to the site. So we've got wellbeing activities. There are 30 different ones, all very inclusive and accessible, and designed to kind of build healthy habits and valuable life skills. There's something for everyone on there. We've got a goal setting tool, so where young people can set themselves a goal. It can be a mental health goal, or it could just be, you know, want to get better at handing in my maths homework on time. They can tick when they've done it as well, so they really see their progress with that. We've got a journal space as well, so a really simple but effective way for them to track their mood, identify if there's anything that's regularly happening that is affecting how they're feeling. How it works is they have a drop-down list of emojis. It does have a describer of what each emoji is, so happy, sad, not sure, angry, etc., etc. And then if they want, there is a box where they can write out a bit more why they might be feeling like that. Both our goal setting tool and our journal tool are moderated as well. So our team will keep an eye on those just to check that young people aren't maybe setting an unsafe goal or putting anything of concern in their journal. If that ever is the case, we would reach out to that young person and offer them a bit more support. So that would be our professional support. So as I said earlier, I think this is what we're kind of best known for at Kooth. And we do have two ways that young people can get this professional support. So that is either through our live chat. So I think there's a picture of it in a minute, but essentially it kind of looks like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. It's a fully text-based support. So it's not a video or voice call. Can just sometimes make having those conversations much easier. And young people nowadays, they do prefer to be able to do it kind of on their phones, like it's texting. And that will be with a qualified mental health practitioner. It will be with a real human. That is a question I get a lot from young people is it AI? No, it is a qualified mental health practitioner, a real person, a human being who is there to listen and understand maybe why they've come to Kooth, what's on their mind, and kind of work with them to find the best way to support them through that. While they are having that chat with their practitioner, that practitioner is only chatting to them for that slot. So it's not like they're doing 100 chats at the same time. They do have that practitioner's full attention. We do also have a inbox that they can message as well. So this will go to our service delivery team who are working behind the scenes, who are offering that support. So it might be that a young person wants to reach out maybe outside of those hours. Maybe they just have a quick question as well and they don't need a chat, or maybe they just need to kind of, write something down, get it out their head, know that it's going to be picked up by a practitioner. They can message that team inbox. It will usually be picked up the next day within about 24 hours, but it does just depend on how full the inbox is. So when a young person signs up to Kooth, we have 4 pathways of support that they can access depending on their needs. All users will begin on our self-guided pathway, and I do have a picture to describe these in a minute. And our moderation team will kind of reach out if we feel they need additional support. So the pathways are they're aligned with the I Thrive model that is used in CAMS. So this is something that's just behind the scenes for our team. It's just to make sure that young people, as I said, can get that support when they need it, as soon as they need it. So this isn't something that kind of a young person will know about or need to know about. So as I said, all users begin on that self-guided pathway, and that just means that they're using those self-help tools, they're using the community tools. They might maybe message our team in that team inbox. If they join us for one of those drop-in chats, they move up to the responsive pathway. So that's just for while they're having that chat, because it's a one-to-one professional support. It's a single session approach. And within those chats, we offer things like risk assessment and signposting and things like that. Once they've had that chat, they move back down to the self-guided pathway. And then if they ever have another one of those chats, they move back up and then back down once the chat is finished. If we feel a young person maybe needs a bit more structured support, we will offer that to them. And that will be with kind of a named practitioner, same time slot, same day each week. It starts off with an assessment chat. So we know we can find out the best way that we can support them. And then it will be 6 to 12 weekly sessions, depending on what that young person needs. If we feel a young person has more complex needs, we put them on our complex needs pathway. And that is where they'll have one-to-one professional support. So it'll be an assessment chat and then up to 6 sessions with a named practitioner. And this is really about more in-depth risk assessment and de-escalation intervention, and also things like safety planning. And we can also do external referrers and liaison. We can do that with any young person, but it might be more needed with the young people that are on our complex needs pathway. So as I said, young people don't know about this. It's just so our team can see that a young person is getting the support they need when they need it. It's just to make sure we are more aligned with the CAMS way of working. So as I said, that is what the live chat option looks like. For a lot of young people, it does just make it a lot easier for them to reach out and have those conversations. We all know that opening up about mental health is a really difficult thing to do, especially having a face-to-face conversation. So sometimes it just makes it a lot easier to know that you're kind of writing down, you are speaking with a practitioner and getting that support. So I'll talk through safeguarding and how we make sure we look after the young people that use Kooth now. So if a young person was to log on or sign up to Kooth and say join a chat and disclose something, and our practitioner would see it as maybe they're at risk from themselves or from others, we would ask that young person for some personal identifiable information, and then we ask for their consent to share this with external services. If consent is not given, but they have given us that identifiable information, but our practitioner feels there is a safeguarding issue, we will always make those referrals, but always let that young person know why we're having to do that and where that information is going. And when we feel a young person is in danger, we can collaborate with emergency services as well. Again, letting that young person know why we're having to do that, where that information is going. If a young person chooses not to disclose their identifiable information, it does sometimes happen being an anonymous service. Sometimes that is the reason why that young person is using it, because they want to remain anonymous. We will work with them to reduce risk and make sure they are safe. We can do things like develop safety plans, and we can do this with any user if that's something they need, and it's just on a Kooth site whenever they need it. But especially important for these young people who maybe aren't ready to give us that information. And we'll also work with them to maybe understand why they're not comfortable giving us that information, why they're not ready, if there's any barriers they have to accessing other services as well. And we are always signposting to other services, whether that is a national crisis line or a local service that maybe they can self-sign up to or get support from. We will make sure they are aware of them. We can also collaborate with emergency services, even if we don't have that young person's information. So there are loads of really clever ways they can do this. So we can, at Kooth, we don't track IP addresses, but we can tell a young person how to give us that information, and we can just send that directly to the emergency services, and the emergency services will be able to find them without Kooth ever knowing kind of where they are. So for some young people, that's how they want to do it, and that is how we will do it to make sure they get that support. We do believe that being an anonymous service does support effective safeguarding rather than being a barrier, and that a young person that has taken that time to either sign up or log into Kooth that day and disclose something to our practitioners is taking that positive step towards getting support for themselves. And our users do consistently feedback that they like that it's anonymous, and it does enable them to share things that they otherwise wouldn't have told anyone. So I've got a case study here, so just so you can kind of see it in practice, how it actually works. So this is how Kooth helped Sam. So Sam is a pseudonym. So Sam was male, 13 years old, and had an experience of grief and loss. He suffered with anxiety, self-harm, loss of appetite, social isolation, and shame. Sam heard about Kooth in a school assembly. He liked that it was anonymous, that he could sign up himself. So that is what he did. When he got home, he signed up for Kooth. Initially, he just kind of used the Kooth journal to express his thoughts and feelings. This started to kind of worsen the things he was writing down. His presentation was worsening. So our team picked that up through moderation and recommended he join us for a chat. He asked if it could be with a male counsellor, and that request was granted. That is something we try and do as much as possible. So if a young person wants it to be someone of the same gender or maybe ethnicity or religion, culture, we will try and do that as much as possible. But it is important to remember that all of our team members do have extensive training on kind of all these different things as well. So it's not always possible to be matched with, a practitioner that is of the same whatever as them, but we do try and do it wherever possible. Within this chat, he was offered a full risk assessment and support given around self-harm, and he was put on that structured pathway to get that structured support. So it was the same practitioner, same time slot, same day for a number of weeks. Our team started to encourage him to join kind of other parts of the Kooth site. So he was recommended to join one of the discussion boards around grief and loss. He started to really engage with this, and other young people who were on that discussion board recommended some of the Kooth activities. So he then started to do those after having them recommended by young people. So in terms of kind of the outcomes for Sam, his core score went from medium to mild. risk rating went from amber to green, and he went from that lots of problems presentation to goal achievement. He then went from having that weekly structured support to just having those drop-in chats as and when he needed them. In terms of the community, he really, really benefited from those community and self-help parts of the Kooth website, which are always available if they ever do need it. And he went from being a passive recipient, so just kind of reading things, not really engaging, to becoming that really active user, so posting his own things, commenting on other young people's posts and really supporting them. And then in terms of the system and financial, he hasn't required more costly or potentially lengthy face-to-face input or deteriorated while sitting on a waiting list. He got that support very early on. And those specialist resources, so things like CAMS, are protective of those young people who do require that level of support. So in line with the NHS's 10-year plan, obviously they're working towards a few different things, and Kooth do already fit in with a few of these things. So we are digital support, we do a lot with prevention, so supporting young people very, very early on and making sure that they don't deteriorate or get worse. And we do a lot of work within the community as well. So my role as engagement lead is to be in the local community. So going to schools and speaking to young people directly, attending like community events and everything like that to ensure that Kooth is known in the area. So in terms of how we work alongside other services, so, you know, primary care like yourselves, but also other services that young people might be under as well. So we can support those who might be on the waiting list for those more specialist services, but also can support those who maybe don't meet the thresholds or criteria for them. We have that out-of-hours support with our practitioners online until 10 p.m. each night, which of course means young people can get support outside of kind of term time. We really appreciate that for many young people, their trusted adult or their safe person might not be someone at home. It might be a teacher, someone in the mental health support team at that school. It might be a youth worker or a sports coach, someone who maybe they don't get to see all the time, or they might have periods like school holidays where they're not there. And I think it's nice to know that there is an option that they can go to that is, you know, a qualified mental health practitioner to get that support. Support for those who wish to remain anonymous, who maybe aren't ready to open up and get that support in person yet, or maybe those who face barriers towards accessing in-person support services. That early intervention and prevention as well. Additionally, if maybe a young person is on, you know, a waiting list for CAMS or something similar, having a go at having one of our chats at Kooth with one of our practitioners can be a really nice way to kind of get them used to those kind of chats around mental health, get them used to kind of the things that are asked, the questions, the language that's used, and just make them feel a lot more comfortable when they start that journey. We've got that lovely community space, as I've talked about, where they can really safely connect with other young people that might be going through something very similar that maybe they don't have, you know, in their lives. And as well, that kind of aftercare, if they've been discharged from a service, it's nice to know there's something they can still go to. They can have one of those drop-in chats if they ever do need it as well. So if you would like to signpost a young person towards Kooth, sometimes just suggesting they try it is enough. It might be, as I said, I do a lot of assemblies. We do a lot of work in schools with local organisations. They might have heard of it before, so sometimes just reminding them that it exists. It's there if they, you know, just reminding them it's there if they need it. We have physical resources as well that we can provide you with. So we've got A5 leaflets, which have got, it's not too blurry, it's got some nice information on there. We also have wallet cards as well. So these are great to give to young people directly. Leaflets are also great to give to young people, but also to families. We have things like posters as well. We also have kind of things for display screens. If you have, you know, like waiting rooms and everything like that, we can provide you with those. If you ever want to signpost to us in things like newsletters, social media, waiting list letters, just discharge letters, we can send you kind of all the information for that. If it's just a little blurb you need about Kooth, if it's logos, if it's like social media assets, we can provide those. If you want kind of a similar presentation for your team as well, that is something that we can offer. So you can either get into contact with us with that email, kel@kooth, and that'll be picked up for me. No worries if you had to leave And there's my email address as well. I will just quickly put it in the chat so you've got it. But you are going to get a copy of these slides after, so you will have it on there as well. But yeah, if you want any of those resources, any digital resources, or as I said, if you would like to book a similar training for your team, that is definitely something we can do, and you can contact me directly for that. So thank you so much for listening. I do appreciate that. Was a lot of information for lunchtime. Did anyone have any questions or anything like that? Or any questions? Please feel free to come off mute. I'll just stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Eloise. It really sounds like a fantastic service and very comprehensive. So thank you for sharing more details. There's a couple of questions in the chat. I don't know whether you can see the chat.
Yes.
Julianne's asking, can we get some wallet cards and posters, and how can we access those?
Let me write that down.
Can anyone use your email address to access those physical resources? How best?
Yeah, if you pop an email directly to me, and I can get them sent out. So I'm the engagement lead for the whole of Lincolnshire. So if you need any resources or you have any questions, feel free to, if you think of anything, after, pop me an email, and I can sort it out for you.
Wonderful, thank you. Any further questions? I can see a couple of people are posting in the chat. Out of interest, Eloise, do you have usage stats for young people in Lincolnshire? I know my secondary school son has come home talking about an assembly you've had, so I know the word is getting out there, which is great news.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Yeah, it depends on the time of year, but we find kind of now we do get a lot of usage going into winter. A lot of schools are really good at promoting us at this time of year as well. So yeah, it's used really well in Lincolnshire.
Great news.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining.
Lovely. If there's no further questions, just a big thank you, Eloise, for sharing all that information with us today. Great session. And I think that's echoed by all the comments, positive comments in the chat. If you do have any further questions for Eloise, her email address is in the chat. And I think, Eloise, you said you'd be happy to share the slides with us as well. So I'll share those with the group. Yes. Lots of thank yous coming in the chat. Hopefully you can see that, Eloise.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
But great stuff. Thank you for attending it, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and please do get in touch with Eloise if you do require any further information. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.